for Halifax.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday when asked why the government sent meddling overseers to the International Polar Year Conference, the minister said that muzzling scientists was a, quote, established practice. Well, scientists disagree because a senior Environment Canada expert called the new media guidelines unethical and enormously embarrassing to our country on the world stage. Will the minister explain how interfering with media access to our scientists fits in with their so-called open government approach?
Very good question.
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that is an outrageous misquote, I think it's fair to say. We at Environment Canada are very proud of our scientists. We make them available for many hundreds of interviews every year, and they're available even today in Montreal at the Polar Conference. And my friends should know that communications management is a widely respected and essential tool of any large organization. Our scientists are free to address questions regarding science, but my friends should remember that when it comes to policy issues, ministers speak for the department.
The Honourable Member for Beauharnois-Salaberry. The government is slashing budgets and showing scientists the door. That's a lack of openness, Mr. Speaker. More and more layoff notices are arriving on scientists' desks each week. The people responsible for conservative oversight and propaganda are being sent out to record every word being spoken by our scientists at the International Polar Year Conference 2012. And this is an act of an intimidation designed to muzzle experts. Is the minister so afraid of the facts that he wants to remove science from environmental protection in the Arctic? The Honourable Minister of the Environment. Mr. Speaker, the premise of that question is false.
Montreal at the Polar Conference are spreading the good news of the policies of our government, both with regard to mitigation of climate change, both within the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, as well as outside with a number of countries, like-minded countries, to address short-lived climate pollutants. And of course, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues should know of the significant investment that our government has made in adaptation in the Canadian Arctic.
Member for New Westminster, Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are outraged at the Conservatives' take on fisheries and the environment. They're muzzling scientists. They've closed the West Coast Oil Spill Response Centre, and today the minister announced plans to gut fisheries habitat protection. It seems there's no limit on what they will do to help their big business friends avoid environmental responsibility. Mr. Speaker, doesn't the minister understand that selling out fish habitat is short-sighted and will damage both the fishery and our economy?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for his totally inaccurate question. The current fisheries policy goes well beyond what's necessary to protect fish and fish habitat, Mr. Speaker. I've been saying that for some time now. Our government is committed to protecting Canada's commercial, recreational and Aboriginal fishery. The changes I announced earlier today will move the current regime from an indiscriminate one that treats farmers, fields and drainage ditches the same as major projects to the one that actually protects Canada's fisheries from real threats such as aquatic invasive species and habitat destruction. Thank you, Mr.
The Honourable Member for Gaspésie-Îles-de-la-Madeleine. Mr. Speaker, we need to protect the fishery, and fisheries habitat protection is fundamental to ensuring that the ecosystem and the industry remain healthy. Scientists, industry workers, recreational fishers, and even 2 former Progressive Conservative fisheries ministers all agree. The Conservatives' plan for protecting fish habitat is absurd. Why are the Conservatives jeopardizing our industry? Is it to enable their big business friends to avoid having to comply with environmental regulations? The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
And thank you to the member opposite for his question. Certainly the changes that I announced today will enhance habitat protection, Mr. Speaker. There's no question about that. We shouldn't be in the fields of farmers, Mr. Speaker. For example, the Saskatchewan long-running jamboree was nearly cancelled after newly flooded fields were declared, get this, Mr. Speaker, fish habitat. In Richelieu, The application of rules blocked a farmer from draining his flooded property. That's not protecting habitat, Mr. Speaker. We will protect habitat. Thank you.
Member for Guelph.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, there is currently a proposal to restore flow of oil to its original direction from west to east, from Alberta to Ontario. This is a routine proceeding requiring little change. This proposal would reduce our dependence on foreign oil, create jobs, and help consumers. This is a win-win for everyone across the country and could create much-needed economic opportunities in my riding of Sarnia-Lambton. However, there are those who seek to delay this process. Could the Minister of Natural Resources update this House?
Minister of Natural Resources.
Again, groups opposed to resource development are seeking to delay a simple process by flooding our independent regulator with over 40,000 form letters. Yet again, we need to make changes. We need to show that we need to make changes to ensure our system works efficiently while hearing from Canadians who have a direct interest. The question is, when will the Leader of the Opposition, who argued for Eastern oil access, side with Canadian jobs or with groups doing everything to block job-creating projects?
Let's move on. The honourable member for Kingston and the Islands.